What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 7th Doctor Sylvester McCoy story, The Happiness Patrol. This is the second story in the Ace Adventures box set, the first being Dragonfire, which I've already reviewed on this channel. Both of these episodes, from what I've heard, are not the most highly rated episodes in Sylvester McCoy's era. You know, I already did Dragonfire and I thought it wasn't great. I didn't hate it, but it definitely wasn't great. I gave that one a 5.5 out of 10. So what are my thoughts on this one? But anyway, this is The Happiness Patrol by Graham Curry. On the planet Terra Alpha, bright fluorescent lights and garish candy-striped colours abound. The population constantly display happy smiles. There's no sadness on Terra Alpha. Anyone feeling remotely glum disappears quickly. Having heard disturbing rumours, the Doctor and Ace arrive to topple the entire regime overnight, but they haven't reckoned upon the varied punitive measures enforced by colony leader Helen A. There are many delicious ways to vanish on Terra Alpha. You can be hunted down by the omnipresent Happiness Patrol or mauled by Helen A's ravenous pet, Fifi. But an especially unlucky few will find themselves in the Sweetie Factory manned by Helen A's psychotic henchman, the Candyman. This time, happiness will prevail. So actually quite a long synopsis on the back of this DVD. You know, usually we have pretty small kind of one paragraph things. This is like 2 paragraphs and a little bit of a, you know, the happiness will prevail thing at the end. This is a fairly long back of the DVD synopsis, but you know, it says what the story's about, and you know, it really gets into it. And yeah, I mean, from the back of that, this one does sound interesting, however, maybe a little bit strange. But anyway, let's do this as we always do it and start off with the cast. Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor, very, very good in this one. I do quite like Sylvester McCoy. He's not my favourite Doctor at the moment, the 7th Doctor. I think he's a bit too quirky and weird at times. To be honest, although this is a very, very weird story, probably one of the weirdest in the 7th Doctor's era, and that's saying a lot because the 7th Doctor's era is kind of weird. You know what? The Doctor's actually not as weird as he has been in other stories with this one, especially when we look at season 24. I mean, you know, this is season 25 here. Season 24 was when it was at its weirdest. Here we're just starting to kind of, you know, we're kind of in between, and then in season 26, then we get into the more serious stuff. So we're kind of in between here. The story itself is very weird, but the Doctor in this one is actually pretty cool. You know, he has his funny moments, but he's not too weird. He's a little bit weird here and there, but not as much as he has been in other stories, definitely. So yeah, altogether, Sylvester McCoy, I think, does a great job in this one. Then we have Sophie Aldred as Ace. I've said it before, I will say it again. I love Ace. I think she's a really, really good character. One of the best companions from what I've seen in the classic series. And really of all time. She's just so much different and just a very interesting character. You know, once again, we've got her, a very slight little thing, how she loves explosives. You know, we kind of get that in a lot of stories. But yeah, I really like that. And I think Ace as a character is just really, really interesting. And Sophie Aldred does a very good job portraying the character as well. That's all I'm really going to talk about with the cast, though. There is a lot of guest cast in this. I mean a lot. I mean, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page here of all the cast, and there are a hell of a lot of names in the others. However, I'm not going to go through them all because 1, I can't exactly remember who every single one is, and 2, there's not really much else to say about them. I mean, I think they're all pretty good, to be honest. So yeah, that's really all I'm going to talk about with the cast with this one. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. The TARDIS actually looks pretty good in red. Now, you're probably wondering if you haven't seen this episode before. By the way, if you haven't seen it, there will be spoilers in this video. You're probably wondering, what are you talking about? Well, the TARDIS actually gets painted red at the start of this story. Now, yeah, we don't really get to see it very much. We literally see it when it gets painted red at the start, and then we see it at the end when they're painting it back to blue again. But you know what? For those little moments where we actually do see the TARDIS red, and you know, you can see it on the front of the DVD cover, it shows the TARDIS in red. It actually looks pretty good. Now, I wouldn't want the TARDIS to be red all the time. The TARDIS needs to be blue. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, police boxes, they're blue, so it kind of has to stick with that tradition. And I mean, the show would be completely different if the TARDIS was red. I mean, you know, it's almost like changing its form completely. But I think for this episode, especially because, I mean, it's not doing any harm, is it? And I like how, you know, they paint it red because the blue's a bit more of a dull, boring colour. Because, I mean, the TARDIS is quite a dull kind of you know, bland dark blue at this time, so making it this more brighter, eye-popping red. I think actually it makes sense that they're wanting to do this in this place where everybody needs to be happy. We don't want any dull, depressing colors around, so they paint it red, and you know what? It actually looks pretty good. I thought it really did look good. It actually reminded me quite a lot of, you know, the more modern style police boxes. Yeah, they not police boxes, like the telephone boxes, you know, the red telephone boxes you get around the place. Not really used so much nowadays, I guess, but you know, you still see them quite a lot around, especially in England and London and that. It reminded me a lot of that, and I think, you know what, the TARDIS actually looks pretty good in red. A planet where people who aren't happy get killed is actually a pretty interesting idea. I do quite like that. You know, this had a very, I don't really know exactly how to explain it, but it had a very Vengeance on Varos sort of vibe with it. So basically, the people on this planet, they are all happy. They want everyone to be happy, and anyone that's not happy, who they call killjoys, they basically kill them. They either shoot them and they just magically apparently disappear and nobody seems to know where they go, or they kind of go to this in this waiting room, and then they get, oh, it's like this weird thing where they get put in this tube thing, and then they get sent down into the candy factory where the candy man, I'm guessing, I think they like drown or whatever in the all the candy substance that, you know, takes them down, all that red substance that we see, and then I don't know, the candy man, I don't think it's exactly 100% really told what exactly happens to these people that get sent into the factory, but from what I can tell, they get made into candy. That is at least my understanding of it. If that's actually not what they were going for, somebody please tell me, but from what I got from it, that's what I was guessing, because I know at one point somebody gets put down into the candy factory, and one of the guys that's down there with the candy man, I can't remember what his name is, is it Harold or one of them? I think it was beginning with H anyway. Harold or Gilbert, it was one of them two. So it doesn't begin with H, but you know what I mean. He says something about, oh, here's the fondant or something, you know, like they're gonna make that person into a fondant. So, you know, that's a pretty weird thing. And yeah, I like that. I think it's a bit of a weird, wacky concept, but you know what? It works. The creatures in the sewers are pretty interesting. Yeah, I don't know if they were ever actually given a name. They probably were, I just can't really remember them. But they were these weird kind of alien-looking, kind of big-eared, like pointy-eared, weird-looking creatures that apparently, from what I understood, were originally above surface, but then when all the people came, they kind of got forced into the sewers, and now they live in the sewers. Now I think they're a pretty cool design, especially for the time. They look pretty cool and interesting, and actually not that, you know, cheap. But they do sound a bit weird. They have this weird kind of sound to them that I'm not the biggest fan of. But apart from that though, you know, I think they don't really do too much, but I think, you know, just to show that these people have come, they've invaded all these other creatures and sent them down into the sewers. I think that's it's just an interesting way to, you know, do that. I don't know, I found them okay. The Doctor acting really happy when he gets on the microphone, and you know, all the Happiness Patrol come along with Ace and that other person that was in the Happiness Patrol that kind of betrayed them and didn't want to be part of them anymore and sided with Ace. You know, and the Doctor starts being really happy on the microphone and jigging around, dancing, singing, you know, and then all those other people come in, and the guy with the harmonica, really like that guy with the harmonica, can't remember what his name was, but he was pretty cool as well. He didn't really do much, but I mean, well, I suppose he did do a lot, because later on he would play the harmonica and it would cause the candy in the sewers to come down and kill Fifi, the weird dog creature thing, whatever it was. We'll get to that. But yeah, I thought the Doctor acting really funny. That was once again, you know, yes, the Doctor in this moment was a bit silly. He was a bit crazy, like we see a lot of Sylvester McCoy, but here it worked, it made sense. He maybe went a little bit overboard with it, but you know what, that's just what the Doctor does. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool moment too. And then finally, the end where Helen finds sadness when Fifi dies. I loved the way this ended. So yeah, like I said, Fifi got crushed, I suppose, by all the candy in the sewers. You know, it came down when that guy played the harmonica. But then I guess Fifi manages to crawl out of the sewers, and she ends up just kind of dying on the street, and Helen sees her die, him. I'm guessing by Fifi it's a girl. I don't know. I don't even know what it was. It was like this weird dog creature. And I really like that, you know, how Ace was like, do you reckon she'll ever, you know, stop the happiness, or, you know, I can't remember exactly what she says, just stop trying to be happy all the time. She finds out that Fifi dies, and she starts crying, and you can tell she's really sad. The doctor's like, I think it's just happened, there we go, we've done it. And I thought, you know what, that's actually that's a really cool little moment to end on. I thought that was really well done. Alright, onto a couple of bad things. First of all, the overdone makeup looks really silly. Yeah, what was that about? Everybody had, all the Happiness Patrol people had really weird makeup. Now, I think on the women it didn't look too bad, but on the men especially the ones that didn't have much hair, it really just looked like they've kind of been just this circle of makeup on their face and nowhere else, where it looked really silly in my opinion. I know it's a little bit of a kind of nitpick, but yeah, that was a bit strange for me. And then the other bad thing I've really got to say here is that the Candyman is utterly ridiculous. When you have a monster in Doctor Who that's made of licorice all sorts, I think you're pushing it a bit. You know, I think as a concept, the Candyman is very weird. And I also think the way he looks is very weird. He is literally an amalgamation of candies, mostly I think licorice all sorts. And then his voice as well. His voice is really weird. I can't tell if he's a robot or if he's I think he's actually just some weird kind of chemical flipping, I don't know. He's just this weird invention. It's a bit weird, and yeah, his voice sounds really weird. It's got this kind of robotic sound to it, but also he screams a hell of a lot and he yells a lot. I mean, you know, I think he works well in the story. I think just as a concept, especially to look at, he's a little bit strange. But yeah, we've actually gone on for quite a long time here, so let's really get this done quick. Happiness Patrol, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I actually, you know, I didn't mind this one as much as I thought. I thought I was really going to hate this one and thought it was too stupid. But although the Candyman was a bit too ridiculous, and there were a couple of things in there that I wasn't a big fan of, the overall story and the overall thing with this was actually quite interesting. And you know what, this story didn't drag at all. It's only 3 parts long, so it's only just over an hour long, so you can really just flick it on, watch it all the way through with no problem. And you know what, I actually quite enjoyed myself all the way through this. So although I don't think I can quite say it's an average story of a 7 out of 10, I think a 6 out of 10 is still pretty good, all things considered. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.